Today's Chulin Daf Nun Tes, and Be'ez Hashem, but we're going to start from Daf Nun Ches Amid Beis, the Mishnah. But today there's a little bit about if an animal ate different kinds of foods. What's the halacha about the different if the animal becomes it's full of poison, etc. That's going to be this Mishnah and a shtukal Gemara. But then we're going to start the famous Gemara of Simoni Chaya Behema. That's going to be the next Mishnah. That's going to be for the next 8-9 blots. It's going to be all about Simoni Behema V'Chaya. But today the Gemara is going to go through. We're going to have the Mishnah, a lot of kolim in the Mishnah. We're going to just do the Rashi Prakim because the Gemara is going to be Marich. And then there's going to be another 2 Gemaras. One Gemara is going to be, what do you do if you can't be Boidik Sai Malgera Mafres Parsa? So what do you do? A whole ganze Gemara, three shtikach Gemara. That's going to take us down to Amud Aleph. And then on base, the Gemara is going to talk about the Simon in between. How do you know if something is a Chaya or a Behema? All different Simonim in the horns. And on that, we have some Murdi Geshach with the big Zibu controversy that Be'ez Hashem we're going to talk about at the end of the day. Let's go. If an animal has these kind of machlas, but these are not. There's no treifa, there's no physical ailment here, but there's some kind of achuzas hadam. It's some kind of a redness. It's obviously sick. Vamushenes. It somehow got all smoke inhalation. Vamutzunenes. It's fakilt. It's somehow chilly. V'sha'ochla hadufni. If it ate hadufni, we're going to see is something that's poison for the animal. V'sha'ochla tzoyas tarnagolim. If it ate the tzoyas tarnagolim, oishishasasa mayim haroim. Mayim haroim, Rashi says, is that it has some mayim that was mayim magulim, right? So choshish that maybe there's has the eres nachash kshera. Because all these things, it's not treifa. Yeah, this will be very geschmack in the lumdis. That the pshat is we're not talking about treifa is not an animal that's not going to live. That's not what makes a treifa. It's the ma'aser treifas that once something was nitrifa. But if we happen to know that this animal is not going to live, that's not what makes something a treifa. Ochla sam hamavis. Now this we're going to see is a sam hamavis of a human sam hamavis. Oishikisha nachash muteres mishum treifa. Again, it still doesn't become a treifa. However, what if asurim mishum sakonas nefashis? It's sakonas nefashis because the sam hamavis, the poison in it is going to kill the person. Zakti mara mashmul holita chalsis treifa. What's chalsis? Chalsis is this some kind of a plant that grows in. It's a little bit current events. It grows in Iran, and it turns out that they use it. There's some kind of a resin that they extract from it. It's a very, very interesting plant. It only blossoms after 4 years. It's a very interesting plant. I have a picture of it. Here's the chalsis. Chalsis. It's asafoetida. Asafoetida. It's a plant, pungent, dry gum resin known as asafoetida or hing. Okay, this is the chalsis. It seems like it's a very, very, very strong thing. It takes a very, very long time, but the resin, it comes from the root. Okay, anyway, Bekitza, that's what asafoetida is. Yeah. So he'll eat he'll eat a chalsis. So the first one B'daik, it says he'll eat because it's not something that it eats, obviously out of its own volition, because it's horrible. Yeah, he'll eat a chalsis treifa. The Maisa Shmuel seems to disagree with our Mishnah, and he says that if it ate chalsis, we'll see. It's not our Mishnah didn't talk about chalsis, but the Bryce is going to be going to be steered from the Mishnah. Shmuel says he'll eat a chalsis treifa. My time, it's such a strong, powerful thing. It's going to poke a hole in its intestines. Maser Rav Shizvi, Frek Rav Shizvi Akash from a brayso. Achuzas Adam v'amushanes v'shachla hadufni v'shachla tzayas klavim tzayas hanagolim v'shas mayim haroim. He'll eat. These are things that it doesn't eat out of its own volition. He'll eat. He fed it. Teya is another kind of a poison. Chalsis upilpelin Ochla Sama Maves, all of them is Kshera. Right? So it's all kshera, and the mice over here says ochlas hamaves is kshera, and now Mishnah said it's asur mishum sakonis nefashos. And so that's also going to be another kasha we're going to have, a kasha from this brisa on our Mishnah, and we're going to have a kasha from Shmuel that Shmuel said halita chalsis is treifa, and this Mishnah, this brisa seems to say that while if it halita chalsis, it's kshera. So that's the two steers that the Gemara is going to deal with. Yeah, and the brisa fears kisha noshcha kalev shoita muteres mishum treifa asur mishum zakonis nefashos. Those things that takas mishum zakonis nefashos. Kasha chalsis achalsis. We have a kasha from Shmuel's chalsis that he says it's treifa because it's gonna poke the intestines, and the brisa says that it's kshera, and kasha samamavis and samamavis, because our Mishnah said ochel samamavis is also mishum sakonis nefashos, and the brisa says samamavis is kshera. So Gemara chalsis like kasha kam ba'alin. One is talking about the leaves. Kam bekartin. Kartin is it has some kind of a fruit. It's kernels. It's like an acorn or something. It's kind of a thing. Is the kartin. Yeah. Which one is which? It doesn't say. Kamba and Kamba Kartim. Samamav says Samamav is like Kasha. Hadi day, Hada Adam. That means like this. That our Mishnah says Samamav Sasurim Sakonis Lavash is Samamav of a human. So it's also Mishum Sakonis Lavash. However, the Bryce is talking about Samamav of an animal. Samamav of an animal is not a problem. Frankly, Mora Samamav of Behema Hainu Hadufni. Hadufni we already claimed. We already said in that same Bryce. It said Hadufni Hilita Teya Chalsis Upulplu and Achlasam Hamaves. I'm sorry. It said Achuzah Adam Musharis Shachla Adufni, and it says Achlasam Hamaves. So which one? So L'chura, it seems like it can't be talking about Sam Hamaves. Trey Gavli Sam Hamaves. My Teya. What's Teya? Teya was another thing that was mentioned in the Brisa. Zakti Gemara, Rav Yehuda, Ikra de Merisa. It's this very bitter root. Now Rashi says it's called Tura. It's a different plant. However, there is a pshat in the Rishonim that the Ikra de Merisa is the root of the chalsis. That's a pshat. Okay, Zakti Marvaita. Hay mandachel plasa takli chalsis. If somebody eats 3 the weight of a coin, takli is the weight of a gold coin, plus a takli chalsis alibere kana on an empty heart, empty stomach, mishtalach mashche, his skin slides off. It's so sharp, his skin flies off. I only ate one measurement of chalsis, and I had not sat in cold water and cooled myself off. My skin would have just slided off. I knew this idea of what we said before, that it's mishtalach mashke. So memela, I was able to save myself and go into cold water and save himself. If somebody eats 16 eggs, the arba amguzi, arba or arba'i amguzi, there's 2 gersois. If it means 8, it means 4 nuts, or it means 40 nuts. There's 2 different gersois. Vishev butisa, and 7 amas. I'm sorry, Shev butisa de parchi, and 7 pits from parchis, that slaf plant. V'shasi revius of the dufsha, and he drinks a revius of honey. B'tkufas tamas aliba rekana misaket talya delibe. This is very hard mixture on his stomach, and his the foundation, the thing that's holding the heart, somehow gets uprooted. Now we're talking about the Gemara is going to move on to a new sugya about this thing about the poison. How do you know if an animal had poison? How about Tavi Dosel Bei Reish Galusa? There was a deer that came into Reish Galusa. The Hava Mifsik Kara Basraisa. Its legs, the bottom part of the leg, was cut off. It was missing somehow. Somehow it was missing in place. Some animal might have bitten it off. Somehow it lost the bottom part of its legs. Batke Rav b'Tzum Sagidim. So the first thing is Rav checked the Tzum Sagidim, and the Tzum Sagidim were fine. So actually, so they wanted to eat from it b'umtza. What's b'umtza? Rashi says b'umtza. I'm going to have this Be'ez Hashem by Dam a lot. B'umtza was a process of heavy salting and a very slight roasting. Yeah, they would salt it very, very, very strong. Rashi says, yeah, b'umtza is enek tzli kol kach b'taner ela molchay ma'oid. You very, very salted. And then you give it a little bit of a quick browning on each side. Yeah. Shmuel could be maybe that's how they ate. They prepared deer. Kiyadua, deer has to be eaten very, very rare. If it's not eaten rare, it becomes very hard. It's because there's not much fats in it. You're not worried about nikuri. You're not worried about holes. What's the nikuri? You're going to get holes because of the poison. Yeah. Or nikuri is that the nachash might have bitten it. You're not worried about the nachash might have been amalei might take so what should I do? So noisely, he told him like this: noisely b'tanura, the iu badik nafshe. Put it in the oven, and it will check itself. Somehow there's a process that the meat checks itself if it has poison. So they put it into the tanur, and nafal tilchi, and it started to just fall apart. Somehow, because the poison was in it, it falls apart by itself. Kari Shmuel alei derav lo yuna l'tzadik kol oven. That Hakadosh Baruch Hu makes sure that Shmuel said that Hakadosh Baruch Hu saved Rav, that he was punk there, and he was able to save the day by telling him how to be baidik that there's no poison. Kari Rav alei de Shmuel kol raz le anas le. He said on Shmuel that no secrets are hidden from him, and that's the end of that Gemara. Let's move on to the sugya at hand, the Mishnah of Simoni Behema V'chaya. So we'll talk about the Lumdus in a second. Let's first run through the Mishnah. Simoni Behema V'chaya Nemu Atera. The Simonim of Behemoths and Chayis are Nemro B'Natayra, meaning that what? That Behemoths and Chayis are all checked by Malagera Mafris Paras of Simone Oif Nemru, but Simone Oif don't say. So in other words, that what does the Torah say by the oif? The Torah says you can eat all oifus except a certain 24, right? But so that there's no simon, there's no way to check it. Nervous. The Torah says eat. You can eat everything except those 24 if you know what those 24 are, right? But however, any oif that is doiris is tamei. Now this the problem with doiris is like this. The problem is that we're going to see that there's three pshatim. Rashi himself says three different pshatim what doiris is. Is doiris the pshat that the animal holds down the food while it eats it with its, or doiris is that it catches it in the air, or is doiris there's a third shot. 1 second. Rashi over here says, I don't remember offhand. We'll see it. Rashi over here says that he holds it with his hands, and he picks it up. In other words, that he like picks it up to his mouth. That's the third pshat that Rashi brings. We'll see. And then there's another pshat that maybe Doris means like it means above a comma, that it eats its prey while it's alive. That's going to be we'll see. What Doris is a machlekes. Now, the other thing about Doris is also that it's the one of the four simonim that is not what the place can call not a simonim shebeguf, meaning it's not a physical simon. It's a simon which is about its characteristic. So you have to watch the animal and see if the animal is doris or not. And Lamaisa, right? And Rashi is going to say later on. The Gemara is going to say a story of Tarnagolta, the Agma, I think, that the Gemara is going to say that there's such a thing, that there was an animal that they were eating, and then years later they saw that it was Doris. So in other words, since it's not something you could just check the animal, dissect the animal, and see if the animal has it, you have to watch the animal and see how it acts. So therefore, there's a chashash always that the animal might be a Doris. So Zak Rashi, Memela, the meaning is that we're not soymech on these simonim because of the problem that Shem Ma Yedrois. Yeah, and that's how we paskin in Shulchan Aruch, at least in Ramah paskins like that. So how do you eat anything? How do you eat any bird? The teretz is you soymech on Mesorah, which is a halacha that the Gemara is going to say later on, that if we have a Mesorah that something's kosher, it's kosher. So we have a Mesorah on certain birds, and that's what we have, and that's what we're soymech on, the din of Mesorah, that if we have birds that are kosher, that we have a Mesorah on, we eat. Birds that we don't have a Mesorah on, we don't eat because of this problem. That's going to be Be'ez Hashem. We're going to learn that later, right? But that's l'chura only by birds, nothing to do with animals. Why? Because animals is malageru umafres parsa. We'll see a little bit more about it. Be'ez Hashem, the Shach and the Chazon Ish, the Zibu controversy. We'll see in a second. Zok the Gemara Vayta. What are the other three simonim? Kol sheyesh le'etzba yisera. Anything that has etzbe yisera. Now, etzbe yisera is a big machlekes. What etzbe yisera is, we'll see Be'ez Hashem later on. But there's going to be three pshat in what etzbe yisera is. I'll show a picture in a second. The zefek that we know what the zefek is that crop, is that part, that staging area, the holding area that holds the food before it goes into the korkavan, before it goes into the unique stomach of a bird. The korkavanai niklaf, and that the korkavan is, it doesn't just have a gizzard. It has a gizzard that's niklaf, meaning that it has a skin inside that comes off. We'll show a picture of that as well. Tar. So if it has these four simona, meaning that it's not doiris, and that it's yeshli etzbi yisera zefek and korkavan and niklaf, then it's tar. Any oif that splits its feet, it's tummy. In other words, if it splits its feet, it has like two on this side and two on this side, then it's tummy. And famously, there was a big problem with the leghorn chickens, that they were maybe cholikes raglov, and that was the whole tumult about those chickens. Ubechagovim koshi yeshlei arba raglayim. These are things that does say in the Torah. And we're going to Be'ez Hashem be marich about the chagavim later on in the Gemara, because the Gemara talks about why we don't eat chagavim nowadays, a whole shmuz. The shaila is, how do we get the simonim of one of these simonim is going to be a little problem. But let's just see quickly the Mishnah. Ubechagavim kol sheyesh le'arba glaim, four legs, va'arba kanafayim, and four wings, v'kartzulim. These kartulim, we'll see what these kartulim are. These special large legs that make it give it a big jump. Yeah, uknafav choifin es rubai, and we'll see. The Gemara is going to be marich about these four simon. Rabbi Yossi Aimer ushmoi chagav. You also need that it should have the name of chagav. We'll see in the Gemara. Ubedagim, and what is the simon by a dagim? Kol sheyesh le snapir v'kaskeses. If it has fins and scales. Rabbi Yehuda Shnei Kaskasim v'Snape Echad has to have two scales and one fin. Ve'elu hen kaskasim hakavuim boy usnapirim haperech b'hem. So this is very interesting. The Mishnah says ve'elu hen kaskasim. If you want to know what kaskasim are, hakavuim boy. V'snapirim is haperech b'hem. Why does the Mishnah say punkt by snapirim ve'elu hen kaskasim hakavuim boy v'snapirim haperech b'hem? But Pashtus, I think that this is the Pashtus pshat in the Mishnah. That the Mishnah that just like we all forget what's the difference between a fin and scale, and we definitely don't remember what's the taich of a kaskasim and snapirim, which one it is. So the Mishnah is giving us a siman, and the siman is very clear that kaskasim it starts with a kuf, and it's hakavu by, and snapirim has a pay haperech bem. So l'chura kipshuta, the Mishnah is giving us a siman. That's why the Mishnah used the lashon of hakavu by the snapirim haperech bem. And l'chura pashtis, we can't learn out any halacha in the characteristics of how the kaskasim have to be, or how the pari or the snapirim are in pareach behem, exactly right. If you have something that's not so kavua, yet kavua, or not so pareach, because because Kipshuta, the Mishnah, we'll see, Be'ez Hashem, we'll see from the Ramban, but Kipshuta, the Mishnah is using it just for a siman. So we use the word that's similar to the words. And Agavocha, what's important is that we have the same thing in English, because scales are also have the ke, which is kaskasim and kavun boy, so you can remember that too. And fins, the afei is like a snapirim, which are perech behem, so you could use that siman as well, which is gishmak. Okay. Now, the most important, the important thing to declare over here is the Gavaldig Machlokas Rishonim. What about these simonim? Are these simonim a siman or a siba? Machlokas Rishonim. Chlor Machlokas Rishonim. These are Rishonim Lekan and Rishonim Lekan. What? Yeah, this is the classical shayla. Now, Kipshut, the Mishnah says simonim. Now, every single siba is also a siman, so therefore it's not a raya. And lamaisa, what would we call it? I was trying to understand, what would we call it? Let's say it's a siba and it's not a siman. If we wanted to say that it's a siba, not a siman, what would we call it? I'm not sure, because what? We still call it a siman, right? Yeah. So you can't bring a raya from the language that it's called simonim. That's pasha, right? So what are they simonim or they're sibas? It's a klora machlekes. Well, I'm sorry. It's a klora machlekes rishonim. Let's just tell it avek that it's mefurish marit against a mefurish ritva. Very, very, very clear. There are rayas lekan what the Rambam holds. We'll say that in a second. But there's a klora marit and there's a klora ritva. The marit brings a raya from the concept of a yotzim and a tamei. How could it be that a davar yotzim and a tamei is tamei and davar yotzei? Right? We'll get back to these things and we'll talk. But let's just start avek. Marit brings a raya from the fact that there's a davar yotzim and a tamei, or the fact that we have a concept. Right? Let's say the Chazal say if let's say you have a what's called a tamei animal gives birth to a tar animal. The animal now is malagera mafres parasa, but the Maisa, since it was yotzim minatame, it's tamei. Why is it tamei? It must be that it is a siman, not a siba. So it comes out like this: that the Eibishter had a different reason why. Had a reason why he wanted this thing to be tamei, that we shouldn't eat it for whatever reason. But he gave us what's called Chazdei Elya, and the Eibishter gave us like as a what's called indication of this is the one that he wants us to eat. This is not the one that he wants us to eat, but this has nothing to do with the reason for eating it. Yeah, that's on mitzad echad is the marit klor. Lamaisa, there's the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim. The Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim, I didn't see it myself, but I saw it brought down. The Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim says mafurish that it has nothing at all to do with why we're eating it. It's just a siman. Mamish, it's a mamish mashma, very, very close like the marit. However, on the other side, we have the famous Rambam, the famous Ritva. The Ritva is in Nida, but the Ritva in Nida is going on a Gemara that happens to be word for word over here. We're going to learn in a few blot, that the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says that the klal is kol sheyesh lo isna. It's a Mishnah in Nida. Kol sheyesh lo isnape yesh lo kaskeses. Kol sheyesh lo isnape yesh lo kaskeses. V'yesh yesh lo kaskeses ve'en lo isnape. Which means, right? Kol sheyesh lo. Again, it says that kol sheyesh lo kaskeses yesh lo snapir. In other words, anything that has scales has also snapir, has also fins. V'yesh yesh lo snapir ve'en lo kaskeses. So in other words, what? So the Gemara says mafurish that there's no question that if you see a fish that has kaskeses, which is hakavuim boy, which is scales, which is right the scales. So you know that it's kosher because it for sure has snapirim, which is hapareach behem, which is fins, right? And that's kiyadua the halacha that's negea to us. It's negea la halacha l'mais if somebody wants to drink or eat fish blood, right? So the halacha by fish blood is you're allowed to eat it. The problem is marasayin. That marasayin is so right. there's a problem with marasayin. So what's the eitzah to take away the marasayin? You put in some scales. Why do you put in scales? Because if it's scales, it for sure has its scales is for sure kosher because it doesn't have because kol sheyesh lo it's not yesh lo kaskasas. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Bekitz and Nimrods, that's befurish. Zokter is a fracting Gemara Kasha. So if me'achar, that what? Me'achar the kol sheyesh lo sapi yesh lo kaskasas. So why did the Torah tell us b'chlal anything about snapirim? Azoi fract the Gemara. And for the Gemara lahagdel Torah ulahadira. Now, what does lahagdel Torah ulahadira mean? Zokt duritva. One pshat, famous pshat. He says that lahagdel Torah ulahadira means that even though I don't need it for as an indication because I anyways have to check if it has kaskesas because without checking the kaskesas I don't know if it's kosher. However, zok ritva, but the Torah told us has napirim because that's the reason why it's mutter. It's mutter because it has napirim. It could be I don't have to check it, but lamaisa that's the reason. So it's mafurish in the ritva. Mamish mafurish that it's a siba that kaskeses and that al kaponim kaskeses and stampirim it's a siba as well, not just a siman. Those are the two stadim mikan ulekan. There is the Chulin want to bring a raya from a Rambam as well also because the Rambam says in Shasant Tazach the Shchitas Chulin brings this raya gavaldiga raya because the Rambam says a gomel has only one siman and not the other siman, right? So, so the Shchitas Chulin says the Rambam says that you have a kolshkein by a gomel. Kolshkein by a gomel. Ma'adach by the other things that are also to eat. Kolshkein by a gomel. What do you mean kolshkein by a gomel? What kind of kolshkein is it? Well, if it's all a siman, it's just an indication. There's no gresser or kolshkein. It's not more tamei. Not more tame, right? It's mashma that a gomel is more, or what's called it, is more, is something more not edible about the gomel. That's a gavaldiga raya to that as well. And there is a toisus also. There's a toisus in Bechoros. Toisus in Bechoros says it's more so mamish like by a gomel. The Toisus brings a raya that a gomel. Toisus says that a gomel is not going to be roy lachila. You don't need again. Every tray for meat you have to be mechashav on it for it to be roy l'kabel toma because otherwise it's not roy lachila. And mashenka by a gomel because it only has one siman tamei. Who cares if it's one siman tamei, not who cares if it only has one siman tamei? L'maisa it's also to eat, right? So akaponim, there's mashma a little bit in Tosa seems to say that the pshat is it only has one siman tamei, and therefore it's not as it doesn't have so much of a siba not to be eaten. Okay, that's the machlekes. That's the Yisrael is the machlekes. What the hezber is, will Bez Hashem be marchiv on this. I just want to be moist of one little knech that is a. I believe Reb Chaim Kanievsky brought this raya. I'm not sure if he brought this raya, but Reb Chaim Kanievsky brought the raya from the fact that some Sefer brings it down. Some Sefer says that's why a chazir is called a chazir. There is a medrash somewhere that says that tray for animals, akaponim the chazir will be kosher, a belasted lavoi. And the shaila is how does it change? If the pshat is, if we took just an indication, if it's only a siman and nothing's going to change b'metzias, so if nothing's going to, right, the siman, even if it's simonim will change. It will change, but the simonim are only indication for something inside, and some kind of something else, something that the Torah didn't want. So l'chura, what changed by the fact that it's going to become a malagera? That's a kasha, and that is a raya l'chura that they're a siba, not just the siman. I just wanted to say a vart. I wanted to tie into this punkt just recently by Achron Shal Pesach. I think we laned the famous the famous haftarah of the gors ze'ev in keves, right? And over there, and over there it says in Tesantezach, it says so that there's going to be, it's going to be loss of love, everything is going to be mamish beautiful, and no one's going to be fighting. There's going to be, it's mamish going to be utopia, right? And the predator and the prey are going to live together, right? Gors ze'ev in keves, right? So I want to tell you like this. If you say it's a siba, what's the siba? The word is, if you say the siba, it could be that the pshat is, it has something to do with what the predator, a predator animal, like the Ramban says, that the pshat is a predator animal, it eats other animals, there's a tremendous amount of achzarius, or such kind of a svaris, right? Lamaisa, la'asad lavai, it says, right? But la'asad lavai, it says that the gor say zeivim keves. So what is the predator going to eat? If it doesn't eat any prey anymore, what's it going to eat? So the Navi himself addresses it. The Navi says va'ari yoichal teven, that the ari is going to start eating just grass, like all other ruminating animals. So I want to tie it like this. I want to say like this. It's mistaber to say that the pshat is that there's a malagera and mafres parsa, the two different simonim. The malagera, especially if it's a siba, that the malagera is about what it eats. And the mafres parsa is not about what it eats; it's more about how it acts, and it's something about the legs, but not what it eats. So Mamel is very gishmak. Why dafka the chazir is going to become kosher, but everything else is not going to become kosher. Why? Because the chazir is going to now, if the chazir is now going to be ari yochel teven. So in other words, it's not going to have the chesaron of eating predatory animals. It's going to be just like all other animals, that it's going to be like a kosher animal that could be yochel teven. So Mamela, the chazir, which only has one problem, and it's not malagera, but it is already mafres parsa, that will be kosher. Mashenkin, all the other animals, Lamarshal the gumbo, or any other non-kosher animal, has two problems. It doesn't have a split hoofs either. So if it doesn't have split hoofs, that's not going to change lasad lavoi when it'll be ari yochel teven. That's what I want to tell you. That's why dafka the chazir is going to be lasad lavoi kosher and not anything else. Okay, so let's that's so far hakdama for this Mishnah. We have much more Be'ez Hashem to be marich as we go weiter. Well, just to show you the simonim, which we didn't go through. What's etzbi yisera? Etzbi yisera. There are different shittas over here. It could be that Etzbi Yisera is this one. You see, he says Lapirish Rashi. Maybe it's this one. It's not clear exactly what the Etzbi Yisera is. We're going to see it in the Gemara later on. But Akapanim, let's just show you. Here's maybe a tzad that it's this one on the side that's a little bit higher, or maybe it's the middle one and it's a longer finger. Not clear exactly what the Etzbi Yisera is. And here he shows a picture of Korkavon Niklaf. You see where the Korkavon is being peeled, the inside, that hard skin, is being niklaf. Here is the chagav. Here's the chagav. We have the chagav is here's the kartzulim is this big thing that it jumps, and the kartzel and what else did I want to show you? And these are a few grasshoppers. We'll see that are eaten by certain communities. We don't eat it. We're going to discuss it, Be'ez Hashem, why we don't eat it, and the whole shmuz, the whole controversy with Rashi and Chumash a different time. Let's go weiter. Let's see the Gemara. Turn around on Elu ain't simoni behemo, kol behemo mafreses parsa, kol behemo shemalas geira. Any behema that's malas geira, biyadua she'ein lo shinayim. If it's malas geira, you know for sure it doesn't have teeth. L'mayla, right? And that's kiyadua. That's how it is. All ruminated animals don't have teeth on the top. Yeah, we have a picture of that as well. If you look carefully, here's the mouth of a cow, and if you look on the top, there's mamish no teeth, right? That's how it goes. It just grab it it grabs the grass and it pulls it out. We just had in yesterday's in yesterday's parsha, right? So and there is a pshat. I think the Kolboy says that that's part of the reason why a malagera is kosher, is because the word is it doesn't chew. Why doesn't it chew? It's the same kind of svar that we said yesterday about a zefek, that a zefek is an animal that is always on the run because it's scared of predators, so it just gobbles it up and it'll deal with it later. It'll deal with it in a safe place. But it can't, since it doesn't have the safety, it doesn't fight back by itself, and it's not a predator, it's a prey, so therefore it just swallows up and it moves. That's part of this thing that it doesn't chew. It just swallows food. That's part of the mamish part of the of its the reason why it's taka kosher. Again, this is a shtickle or two-edged sword, because the Maisa comes out that the malagera part is not the siba. It's the fact that it doesn't have teeth is the reason. So you can't say that the malagera is the siba really. Yeah, Te'el Shinayim is the thing. The Torah doesn't say it in Shinayim. Okay, interesting.
Who says Te'el Shinayim?
Oh, the Gemara says, and we're going to see the Gemara. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's go weiter. Anything that's mal gera biyadua she'en lo shinayim l'mayla u'tayra. Fact the Gemara u'klalu. Is this a klal? V'arei gomol demala geru ve'en lo shinayim l'mayla. V'tamei. Yeah. So exactly what the shaka v'taya in this Gemara. There's a lot of pshatim. We'll see the sefer of the Gemara. Ve'en lo shinayim l'mayla v'tamei. So the Gemara gomol mivi islay. Gomel has mivi, has somewhat of teeth. Yeah. We'll see two pshatim in Rashi. They have a picture of it. Again, Chulin Illuminated does an unbelievable job over here. He shows here. This is not a regular camel. This is a bacterian camel. This is the camel that they don't have in Eretz Yisrael. This is the camel that they have in a two-humped camel. And here, if you look at its teeth, it's a machlekes which one we're talking about. It has somewhat of a teeth. Either it's that one or we're talking about that one. Talking which teeth we're talking about on this side. V'arei ben gomel denivi nameli yisle v'su v'arei shafam ve'arnefes demalas gerehein v'yesh lem shinayim lemayla utmeim v'oid shinayim eksivi bereisa. Who cares about shinayim? What are we talking about here? Who cares about shinayim? Elochi kamar. So it's more like this. Kol behema she'ein lo shinayim lemayla biyadua shehi malas gera umafris parsa utahira. If you want to know if it's Miles Gera or Mafres Parasa, check the teeth. And the teeth, if you check the teeth, the Gemara is going to explain this. Why don't you just check its feet if it's split hooves? So the Gemara is going to show you that if its legs were chopped off, can the Gemara that we had before, the legs were chopped off, and therefore I don't know if it's a kosher one, so I can check the top teeth. If somebody who's going to midbar, im ein lo shinayim lemayla biyadua shehi tahira im lav biyadua shehi tameya ubelvad sheyaker gomel. As long as he knows, he's familiar with a gomel, and he knows this is not a gomel. In fact, the Gemara I gomel nivi yislei ubelvad sheyaker ben gomel, because a ben gomel doesn't have any nivi, and therefore he has to be choishish that maybe it's a ben gomel, and therefore if as long as he knows, if he's familiar with a gomel, he knows this is not a gomel, and he doesn't know what kind of animal this is, but he checks the top teeth. There's no teeth. He knows that it's malagir mafres parsa, and it's fine. Yeah. Frak the Gemara. Amrit, lav amrit ikka ben gamol. We know that there's a ben gamol that doesn't have nevi, and it's still and it's not kosher. Ikanami minachrina the dami leben gamol. Maybe there's another min that's dami leben gamol. Tomorrow le salkadait. Tani the Rabbi Shmuel the es hagamol kimala gera. Who? Shalabay lamay yedea she'en lecha dava malagera v'tamei ela gamol. That the Eibishter is the one that's in control of the whole world, and he says that there is nothing beside that's malagera that's tamei except the gamol and the arneves and the what's called it and the shafan. Now there's two problems with this, yeah, very 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 famous problems. Two problems. One problem is that we know that there's the lama, right? The lama and the imai that are very similar to a gamal. That's one big problem. There are those that want to say that maybe that's what ben gamal is. That's one big problem. And the other problem is fakert, that it seems like the shafan and the arneves, which means the hyrax and the hair, don't seem to be that they're malagera. That's a very big problem. We don't have time to be married because I want to get to the other shtickle of Anamid Beis. So but that's a very, very big problem in the sugya. The fikach part l'chakosov who. That's why the Torah says specifically gamal, arneves, and the shafan, to tell you that those are the only ones that are malagera and not mafris parasa. Now these Yisayis Shaila of the Achronim are very, very busy with. Why did I go Basarayv? Why do I have to go check? L'chura, let's just go Basarayv. And if I go Basarayv, I know that it's kosher. I have an animal here. I don't know if it's kosher or not. Let's go Basar Rayv. Why do I have to be Makers Ben Gamel? That's the question. Once I know that it's ein law, that it doesn't have the top teeth, right? So why do I have to be makir ben gamol? Take a clay that I should go basar roiv. That is a gvaldige shayla. There are those that want to say in the Rambam a massive chiddush that there's a whole new ganze Torah about the machlekes Ram and Ram and Ramban. If you count the asay as another asay, bottom line is they want to say in the Rambam Shtikol Torah that there's a mitzvah to be boidik, right? Either there's a mitzvah to be boidik, or maybe the Torah said specifically to be boidik that you shouldn't go basar roiv. That's the Torah that they want to say. V'yesh la'ayin, I'm just being ma'ir. V'yesh la'ayin, there could be has nothing to do with going basar roiv. It could be that you have to know what should you go roiv the whole world, or maybe each place has to be done. How big of a roiv do you go by? In other words, if I found it in this place, maybe the ben gamo is the roiv in this area. How do I should go basar the whole roiv of the world? How does it work exactly? Okay. So before it said Hayim Halach Midbar, and so over there I'm choishish for Ben Gamo because there's a Ben Gamo in the Midbar, but maybe talk about derech. I don't have to be choishish for a Ben Gamo. Hayim Halach Derech. If somebody was on the way, it's missing its mouth. Mouth is cut out. So mouth is cut out. I can't figure out if it's malagera or not, or if it has teeth. So boidik parsis is how I check its feet, its legs, its hoofs. In parsis how sedukos biyadua shi Torah. I know for sure that it's Torah. In la biyadua shi tameya ubavad sheyaker chazir. I should just know that as long as I'm familiar with chazir, I know this is not a chazir, so I have nothing to worry about. If it's split hooves, I know for sure that it's good. Maybe it's something else that's done with chazer. So tomorrow let's have a day. Tell the Bishmal. Vesa chazer ki mafres parsa. Ho shalom beilam ideh. Shen lecham dav shem mafres parsa v'tamei el chazer. Fikach parbo yakosov. Who? Yeah, and that's that's this thing that the Eibishter, he's the one that created the world, and he knows what's going on in the world, and therefore he told you that it's only mafres parsa. Who? It's the only one that's split hose. One more shtickle Gemara. But again, this is back to the midbar. You can't check its mouth or its feet. You check it's somehow in the loin, somewhere in the basara. Exactly what this is not clear. If the meat somehow goes both shesi ve'erev goes both ways. As long as he knows that it's not this aroid, which is some kind of a donkey. Lav amadika aroid dikanami min achrina the dami. Laroid gemiri deleka. That we have a Kabbalah that there's nothing besides the aroid that has this characteristic of the aroid, this kind of a meat. Somehow in the back by the loins over there. Okay, that is the Gemara. That's the Shtuko Gemara. I think it's good to see the next Gemara because it's getting very late. So Gemara Vaita. Yeah, that's the end of that Gemara. There's a lot still to talk about this, and we're going to Bez Hashem talk about it. Simonei Chaya. Tana Rabbanu. Elu hein Simonei Chaya. The following are the Simonei Chaya. What does it mean, Simonei? In fact, the Gemara, Simonei Chaya. Chaya b'chal behemi. Simply Simonim. Chaya is just like behema the Simonim. So what do I need Simonei Chaya for? Why do I care if it's a Chaya? Chaya are b'chlal behema the Simonim. Malager mafres parsa. Omar Rab Zeira Lahatir Chelba. I want to know.
Can I take it to therapy?
To Gemara. Okay, yeah. Lahatir Chelba. Now what? If you want to know if this is a Chaya or a behema, what do you do? What do? You have to check these simonim to know Lahatir Chelba. Right? Why? What's in the gap for chaylev? Because we know that the chaylev of behema is aser, but the chaylev of a chaya is muteris, and therefore it's only negei chaylev. So this Gemara is mamish mafurish. I do not care if it's a chaya or behema. I don't care. It's only negei Lahatir Chelba.
Also, one is negei Chelba.
The simonim that we're going to the following Gemara, the following
simonim of chaya.
Right. We'll see. Lahatir Chelba v'achika amar Eluhein Simonei Chaya. V'achika Eluhein Simonei Chaya shechel b'motor kol sheyesh lo karnayim u'tlafayim. If it has horns and tlafayim. Now, Reb Dois Oima, yesh lo karnayim, mi ata tzarech lachzal al tlofim, yesh lo tlofim, tzarech ata lachzal al karnayim. Okay? Now, let's just first we're going to talk about what these karnayim are, but let's just talk about what the tlofim are. There's a machlokes, Tosfos brings down a machlokes, the Rivam and the Rabbeinu Tam, what this tlofim are. Tlofim, by definition, means Rashi says it means it's the bottom of the hooves, the Rashi calls it the tziparnei aprosois, right? It's the hooves, the hard part, the tziparni, that part. And so what do I need these tlofim? And what's the machlokes the Tanakama Reb Doisa? So the Tosfos, which starts in Amud Aleph, the long Tosfos, brings down a machlokes rishonim. What we're talking about. The Rivam learns that we're not talking about, there's two parts here. There's the Karnayim tells you if it's a Chaya or a Behema, and the Tlofim are telling you if it's kosher. So that's what we say, kosher yesh le Karnayim with Tlofim. It's not just to teach you if it's a Chaya. It's to teach you if it's a Chaya and it is kosher. That's what the tlofim are. So, and very important, why do I have to know, why do we do with the tlofim and not malagera? Very gishmak. So, zogen achronim, very gishmak. Because the only animal that is mafris parsa and not malagera is a chazir, and a chazir never has a horn. So once you have karnayim with tlofim, you're good. Yeah, very gishmak, that's the Rivam. The Rabbeinu Tam, however, has a different shot. He says that the kosher yesh lekarnayim utlafim, we don't mean tlafim, just split hooves. We mean a specific tlafim. We mean tlafim that look like chayas and not like behemoths. In other words, if you have the ones that look like chayas, that's the tlafim that we're talking about over here. Just like we're going to talk about the karnayim that are very specific for a chaya. Same too, we're going to talk about the tlafim that look like a chaya. Here again, Chulin illuminated comes in. 1 second. Yeah. Here, this is a cow has much larger, and the chaya has the thin ones, and that's the difference between a chaya and a behemoth. That is how Rabbeinu Tam learns. Okay, that's the two pshatim in the Gemara. But let's get back to our Gemara. So the Gemara. The Keresh, Ava Pisha Ein Le'ela Keren Echad, Mutter. Even though it only has one horn, it's Mutter. Now, what's this Keresh? So there's a famous pshat from the Sichas Chulin, the famous pshat from the Sichas Chulin, that he wants to suggest that the Keresh is the giraffe. And what's this Ein Le'ela Keren Echad? It's this horn, this little middle thing that it has in the middle, in the top of its head, is the Keresh Echad. Okay, we're going to see Be'ez Hashem more in the Gemara. We'll see if it stems, but that is the Sichas Chulin's pshat in the Keresh Ein Le'ela Keren Echad. Yeah? Okay. So the Gemara, right? I still want to get to the Shach. Frank, the Gemara, Klaluhu. What do you mean? How could it be? How could it yesh karnaim? What do you mean yesh karnaim? It's mashma yesh karnaim if it has a horn. What do you mean? You have a goat that's yesh karnaim, utlafim and v'chel b'yasa. So no. It doesn't mean karnaim. It means specific karnaim. What does it mean? Kruches. Now Rashi brings out two pshatim in kruches. We're going to go with the second pshat that Rashi's mashma more. Kruches means round. Kruches meaning you need round ones. Frank the Marvarishar, the kruches that the horns are round, right? And v'chel b'yasa. So tomorrow charukais binan. What does charukais mean? Charukais means Now here's again. There's two different types of There's different gersois, and it means charukais or chadurais. But so we're going to go with the pshat that it means that they're pointy. The Gemara is the charukos, the chelbei also. It's like the Gemara mefutzalis binan. Again, the Gemara is assuming that each siman is by itself. Mefutzalis binan, you need it to be branches. The Gemara fakert. Why do I need branches? It's not true. You don't need branches because the tzvi aim mefutzalis v'chelbei mutter. As I the Gemara. Now this is a very, very, very big famous Rashi over here. That the Rashi says, what do you mean tzvi aim mefutzalis? Tzvi is aim mefutzalis. We know that they have they have all the branches. What in the world are we talking about that a tzvi is aim mefutzalis? So Zak Rashi famously, Rashi says it must be that a tzvi. We don't mean a tzvi is not what we think a tzvi is a deer. A tzvi is not a tzvi. It's a steinbeck, which is a mountain goat. It's this mountain goat. This and that taka has straight. It's not mefutzalis. The problem is Tosfos bafals Rashi that we know that a tzvi for sure is first of all its skin is not tight, and we know that a tzvi's skin is tight. That's the Tosfos bafals Rashi on this word that it can't be that this is a tzvi. And there are those that want to say that what a tzvi is this other tzad. It's not the deer that we have. It's this gazelle. The gazelle has straight horns, straight horns, and it's not mefutzalis, and that's what the Gemara's kasha is from. Okay, so the Gemara. And for the Gemara, chadurais beinan. You need them to be. You needed that also. You need it to be pointy. Zok the Gemara maskana like this. If it's branches, it's all good. Less dina v'les dain, it's all good. Heched loy miftzala binan. Kruchos, chadurais, v'charukos. V'hu demivlecher kayu. Minus sveka deiza. We're going to see the Gemara Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. Fear ois what the mivlecher kayu and sveka deiza karkus. Yeah, but the Maisa, it's a very, very complicated halachis. Exactly what the halacha is. So it Shulchan Aruch brings down, and this is the shach with the famous shmuz of the zibu. What's the shmuz like this? The shach in the beginning of Siman Pei, where the Shulchan Aruch brings down these halachas. How do you know if it's a chaya or a behema? Right? How do you know if it's a chaya or behema? So the Shulchan Aruch brings down all the halachas. Zok the shach. It's very complicated halachas. And he says, I am a Beis Yosef to see this. The Beis Yosef is Meirich to know exactly what these Simonim are. And he says, Lefisha ein lanu ata elama shenimtza lanu b'misayris, which we know that we don't. Oiftar nechal b'misayris. So mela ein lanu ata elama shenimtza. So therefore, ein lanu ata elama sheyesh lanu b'misayris. So therefore, lefikach katzarti. As I zok the shach. Frek the prima godim. Why ain't one of Mesiris? Mesiris is only negaya that we have to be. We can't eat something without a Mesorah. We can't eat it. It's only if I'm choishish for deraisa. I'm choishish l'mashal by birds that it might be dairis. But over here, there's no chashash that it might be dairis. Who cares? So I chelba v'dama al techelev or maybe kisi adam. No problem. So people go l'chumrah like we all go l'chumrah, but we have animals that we don't know if it's a chay or behem. You go l'chumrah. What is the shach saying? Ein lanu ata elamash nechel b'meseris. What exactly is the shach saying? Zok prima gadim and kanami. It only means to be machmer for chelba v'dama. That's what he means. But avada, the shach doesn't mean to say that we don't eat it at all. That is how that's the Prima Godim is mat to the lashon of the shach. However, famously, there was a big tumult in Eretz Yisrael, and this tumult keeps on coming up, and it's mamish, it's negea la'alacha. It's negea today. Why? Because there is a cow that's somewhat different than the regular cows that everybody had in Mesorah, and it's called a zibu. I'll show you a picture of it, and this is the zibu controversy. One second, let me show. If you look at this cow, this cow is very, very different than other cows. Yeah, it has these big flappy ears. It has this big bump in the back, and it has a lot of this is the three simonim that they talk about that are very different than every other animal. And it has the chaza, the chest over here is very, very, very much hanging much more than any other animal. So these are these three different simonim, and the shaila is this a cow? Now, right? So we don't know if this is a cow, and the shaila. So Terence says, go check if it's malger or mafres parsa. No problem. It's malger or mafres parsa. You can eat it. Maybe it's a chai. What are you afraid of? Well, what are you afraid? Anyway, not going to eat the chelev. We're going to be chayshish. It's a cow. So what should be the problem of this zibu? However, so they wanted to bring it into Eretz Yisrael, and this is the kind of cow that they have in Madagascar, and they wanted to bring in a meat from Madagascar, but the Chazon Ish said no. Chazon Ish said no, you can't. Why? Because the Chazon Ish said that there's a problem that even by chayis and behemoths we also only eat b'mesorah. What? That's the shach. The shach says l'fi shein lanu ata ela mashenach lanu b'mesoros. So memela what? So memela, since we don't have a mesorah on this cow, and I don't know if it's a cow, and therefore you can't eat this cow. This was the psak of the Chazon Ish, and the Ma'aser they did not bring it from Madagascar at that point. Now, what happened subsequently is like this. The problem is that our cows, our Geshmaka, Black Angus or whatever European cows that we eat, those cows are much more healthy in a colder society, in a colder climate. Mashenkin, these come from India or from warmer climates, and in places where they raise cows in warmer climates, the European cows don't last so well. So they started using. So what they started doing was, but they're not as tasty. These ebus, the cows. So what they started doing was they started making. They started breeding them and making a chveis, a half of this and a half of that, and a 5 parts this and a 2 part that, and there's certain however they figured it out to get the perfect perfect mixture of sai health and sai taste. And now there's cows that are in South America from Uruguay that are what? That a lot of them they have zibu part of them. So Memela, it became a big tumult, and the shayla should be machmer like the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says that you can't have something that has what's called that there's no Mesorah on. So originally, what happened was Rabbi Yasha was alive when this tumult keeps on coming up. Rabbi Yasha was alive, and he said that will be machmir from now on to make sure it doesn't come. But whatever's on the shelf you can eat. That's how that's how Rabbi Yashiv wanted to say, because the Maisa Pim Garden doesn't like this, doesn't hold of this chumrah. It's only the Chazanish's chumrah pshat in the shach. It's a suffering d'Rabbanan. No, that's how Rabbi Yashiv wanted to learn. Lamaisa, now Shuvin is bar that all the milk cows in Eretz Yisrael also have some zibu. So it would be much more, and Memela, the Rabbani Amachshel, Lamaisa started being makel completely on this thing. But I just want to suggest one new pshat in the shach. One pshat in the shach, a new pshat in the shach that will maybe be an eitzah, that maybe the shach is b'chalal not saying not like the Pri Megadim and not like the Chazanish. The Chazanish is saying that there's some kind of a minig. We don't know why. The Chazon Ish himself butchers. What should be the reason? What should be the reason they should stop being machmer not to eat chayis and behemoths only b'misayis? Why? By right, like the people got the masks. By oifis there's a problem chashash yidros. Right? Mashaken over here we don't know what Dris is over here. What's the chashash? What are you afraid of? Chazon Ish says maybe right maybe Stammed, it's like some kind of we shouldn't get too many different gourmet zachen. Stam, we don't need any more than shor seva a's. We don't need such a varied diet. It's good. We have what we need. It's shver svar. Yeah. But what's the word? Why should there be such a simon? Why should there be such a minute? Yeah, why should they? And nobody says it. Nobody. This is the first place it said. Okay. Anyway, because that's the. So I want to tie it like this. The Shach is saying something like this. It's very complicated halachas. You see, it's very complicated halachas. And there he says, I am basically says that he was ma'irich. It's not complicated halachas the simonim. Ulefisha Eilanawata, he doesn't mean he doesn't mean a minig, he doesn't mean halacha. He says b'mitzias Eilanawata, the only things that we have here in Europe, in Poland, and wherever the shach was, we don't have anything besides the ones that we know for sure what they are. So it's just the shach is just saying why it's his snatzlus for being mekatza, but he's not saying a psak. He's not identifying some sort of a minig, some kind of a kabbalah that Kaiso was makabel and they were sakin to only eat figs b'meseris. And avada, we would be able to eat anything that's malagir mafres parasel. Lamaisa, the Shevet HaLevi also says he says everywhere else it's no problem. It's also negeya very very stark. Besides the zibu, it's also negeya even more negeya by the zibu. Even if you say it's a problem, but maybe the zebu is a cow, right? But it's negeya very much by the beefalo. There's a thing that they sell in the stores called beefalo, which is half American bison and half beef. And that's supposed to be very, very healthy because it has a low fat content or something. And again, so the American bison, there's clearly no Masera. It's impossible to have a Masera on that, right? So that would be a problem. So Lamaisa, so there's a tshuva from Shevet HaLevi, and he says he comes out that Avad it's not a problem, but he says Bnei Brak Asa the Chazon Ish. I'm not going to say, I don't know what to do, but Lamaisa. We already discussed that nowadays most people are mako because we don't have a problem. Most people are taka mako. It's very very hard to be machmir on this Chazon Ish, and we set up shot of we set up shot in the shach. The shach doesn't mean a minig b'chlal. He's just talking about the mitzias.